Hello and thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Mark Otabo. This week, EFCC arrests Sirika, slams Emefiele with first charges as Commission's chairman vows to resign. Also this week, IGP kicks as ex-president, others back state police, and of course later on the show, naira tumbles against the dollar at official market as speculators resume hoarding, and all the details in a moment. Stay with us. We'll begin with Ondo State, where the primaries of the two biggest political parties took place in preparation of the upcoming governorship election. The primary of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State was held last Saturday across the 203 wards and 18 local government areas of the state amid protests by some of the governorship aspirants. The All Progressives Congress APC Appeals Committee for the governorship primary election during the week received appeals from aspirants against the outcome of the election. The aspirants who filed their appeals are Olugbenga Dema, Wale Akintenwa, and Jimmy Odimayo. The election committee, led by Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo, declared Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa the winner of the primary election. The petitioners said the committee failed to abide by its guidelines set for the election and asked that the purported election should be cancelled and a new date should be picked and a new election conducted. Now, joining me now to discuss this in the studio is Sopriala Membre. He's a policy analyst, and of course, good to have you this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, via Zoom, I have Chukwuebuka Akubi, a lawyer, is also standing by to take us through this moment. Chukwuebuka, good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening to you.
All right, good evening. Chukwuebuka, very quickly, let me begin with you straight up. Now, could you provide an overview of your thoughts on the APC primary election that resulted in Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa's nomination?
All right. Good evening once more to you all in the studio there. Basically speaking, the elections were conducted by the APC committee for the conduct of the election, led by the governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, and the incumbent governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa was returned as the winner of the primary election. Basically speaking, a lot of the those who contested have cried foul based on the conduct, citing irregularities and non-compliance with the provisions of the APC's guideline. A lot of them have cited non-compliance with the rules and regulations of the guideline for the conduct of the elections. However, the APC has set up a committee to hear complaints and to hear inquiries into these complaints, led by Mohammed Abubakar, the former governor of Bauchi State, who has stated that the committee has received 3 reports so far and would turn out its finding after the receipt of this report. So we are looking forward to the finding of the committee with respect to the conduct of the elections. However, holistically speaking, there have been a lot of complaints over the conduct of the elections. The APC went via the direct primaries as against the indirect primary mode, which the opposition PDP went with, and one would naturally expect a situation where it will reflect an outcome that would be generally acceptable. But the complaints present the opposite. So we are hopeful that when the report is out, then we can now make suggestions with respect to what the situation was in Ondo State. But for now, we await the report.
All right, Sopriala, very quickly, let me just take you up on it. Now, given the evident discord among the contenders who were not selected, now, do you believe their appeals for a primary cancellation would be effective?
I'll start from the point that the conduct of the primaries itself was fraught with problems from the beginning, from ab initio, even before the end of the exercise. You know, if you were on social media, you would have seen some certain videos of irregularities in terms of even the direct primary mode, which is seen as a very, will I say, a more credible, system where people were counted and then numbers were skipped. Out of the 203 words, some candidates are alleging. In fact, there are videos on social media showing that materials did not arrive at those words, yet they are elections. And this is very important because internal party democracy is one phenomenon that is lacking in our polity and in the politics we play. So if you cannot guarantee internal party democracy, how then do you guarantee that the candidate who emerges from a process fraught with irregularities would actually comply to the the guidelines of the electoral umpire in the larger election? That's the election between both political parties.
And given the response of the APC chieftain, who came out to say that, look, there is no election that is perfect, and that all aggrieved members, it's a family thing, that there's an appeal committee set up that will actually respond to whatever grievances they have. Now, whatever move they will be making now to appease these people, do you think it will be effective enough to calm their nerves regarding everything that transpired in that election?
Well, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, that's Abdullah Umar Ganduje, he summoned the participants, aspirants in the primaries to a meeting, a parley. So I think the party will look for a way to sort of, balance and then, will I say reward, or sort of look for a way to assuage the grievance of others. But the thing is, with Nigerian politicians, especially politicians we have, some would say, oh, no problem, and then go back to do anti-party. We've seen it happen several times. But definitely, it's an internal party issue. The judiciary has always said it, no need to interfere in a party issue. They would look for a way to settle the disagreements among themselves. Yeah.
All right, Chukwuebuka, very quickly before we round off from this particular topic, in your opinion, now did the incumbent governor's position afford some sort of a significant advantage in the primary election?
All right. One can infer that of course he may have, his position may have given him some advantage. It can be inferred. However, we've also seen within our political system where incumbents lose primary elections. So that's not really cast on stone. That assertion is not really cast on stone. However, to lend credence to what Sopriala has said over there is a need for our parties to understand, our political parties to understand the critical role they play in our democracy. And as such, they should approach internal democracy very seriously. There is a need to approach internal democracy very seriously and take the conduct of their primaries very seriously. So yes, we can say maybe the governor maybe might have exercised or wielded his power of incumbency in his favor in the outcome of the primary elections. However, one can also look at it from the other perspective that, yes, at the end of the day, it's for the party to decide that we will have to do things the right way to ensure that our democracy is preserved.
All right, thank you very much. Well, of course, we take a time out now, and of course, Newsweek continues in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back, and it's still Newsweek, where we discuss the biggest stories that made the headlines in the week. Now, over the course of the week, over the course of the last 7 days, the issue of state police in Nigeria was on the front burner. The policy was divided over the clamor on this issue as leaders brainstormed at a one-day national dialogue on state policing organized by the House of Representatives. While some leaders backed state police, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, disagreed, countering that Nigeria was not ready or mature for it because it was open to abuse by governors. Some called on the government to address the nagging and welfare challenges of the central police before adopting state police. Emeritus Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, John Cardinal Onaiyekan, suggested that the complaints made by the IGP on the challenges of policing, such as welfare, funding, and equipment of the personnel, should be addressed before considering state police. Senate President Godswill said for state police to work, it must be free from religious extremism and ethnic tribal sentiments. I still have Supriala Membre right here in the studio with me. Membre, very quickly, now, the IGP has voiced concerns. He's been very, very vocal about the fact that the establishment of state police, Nigeria is not ready for it, and that governors would abuse it. I mean, do you share the same sentiments with him?
Well, I think from what I even found out after the statement was made, I think the person who made the statement came out to retract, saying that it was his personal opinion, but that's in between.
By the way.
By the way. But the truth is that at the end of the day, the devolution of law enforcement is something that we can no longer run from. We've had incidents where law enforcement agents who come from other states do not understand the terrain and the local issues in those environments. Now, the issues raised by the IGP in terms of funding, in terms of welfare, in terms of equipment, it's already been handled by the states. Let's not deceive ourselves. State governors are chief logistics officers of their state, not even chief security officers of their state. They provide vehicles for logistics, and even sometimes welfare, in terms of accommodation and the rest of that for, security operatives, not only the police force, even the military. You see what's happening in Kaduna, you see what's happening in Sokoto, you see what's happening generally in the northwest, even in the northeast. Borno State Governor, that's Professor Zulum, has done a lot in terms of providing logistics for security operatives, the military, the police. So at the end of the day, it's something that the governors are already doing, But yes, obviously the sort of, this hesitation, with regards state police, devolution of law enforcement to state governors is not far-fetched. We know how state executive, acts in our climate. Yes, we know. So that's why sometimes, in trying to solve an issue, we might create another problem.
So that means, are you indirectly now standing on the same position with the IGP? Because that's where it's going. Where's this conversation going?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I understand. IGP made a statement. He said it might. I watched the event. So the representative of the IGP said it might exacerbate ethnic tensions. That was the word he used. And he's not wrong.
Okay.
We have state executives who weaponize divisions within the country to get to a political, advantage and the rest of that. So at the end of the day, for a fact that this is a problem. We need to devolve law enforcement, whether we like it or not. But then before we do that, we have to visit regulation. We have to, so that we don't create another problem while trying to solve another problem, because that's what usually happens in this our climate. We create this, and then we are now solving this same issue and the rest of that. So let's look at a way where, a legal framework and also an enforcement mechanism can be built in, like a safeguard can be built in. So state police can be introduced, if possible, even down to the local government areas and the rest of that.
All right, Chukwuebuka, quickly. Now, the IGP has suggested that integrating the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, and the FRSC into the police force has, of course, advocated for increase in police recruitment to 30,000 personnel annually to address security challenges. Now, what are your thoughts on these proposals?
Yes, my thoughts on it is that the proposal is timely, given the contemporary challenges we are facing, the contemporary security challenges we are currently facing in the country. There is need for increase in manpower. There is need for increase in collaboration. And there is also need for the issue of state police. I wanted to just drop a little comments on that. There is need for us to understand that the contemporary security challenges we face now as a people calls for a state police. And the excuse as to whether the state police might be subject to abuse is neither here nor there, given the fact that there's every possibility that even the current policing structure is being abused, So I think we need to really rejig whatever excuse we have with respect to accepting the establishment of a state policing system, and then understanding that the current contemporary security challenges we face calls for a state policing structure, we can, take leave, or we can borrow the template of other federating nations, federal systems, and also heterogeneous systems that have also adopted state policing, and then, ply that route. I think in the 7th Senate, it was recommended that there should be a National Police Commission, something like that, to mitigate some of the fears. The IGP also, in a statement within the week, also raised concerns with respect to jurisdiction and all that. All this can be, settled via the means of legislation. But first, there must be the political will, there must be the courage, and then there must be that oneness of purpose to ensure that, yes, we get this done, and then accept this as a system, irrespective of some of the challenges. There are no policy, no system that is not wrought with advantages and disadvantages. But the most important thing is that we, set out to tackle the perennial issue of insecurity that we have been bedeviled with. So the call by the IGP for increase in manpower is timely, and I support it in totality.
All right, Membri, before we go from this topic, the call by the IGP for increase in manpower is very important, but we understand that currently the police also are underfunded with the way things are going. So the call for increment in the recruitment power now, how do you think that would take effect? I mean, how effective would that be, knowing that the current police are also facing issues of financial regression?
Okay, so I don't know if the call for increment is related to the discourse about state police. That's the statement by the IG.
Yeah, he did say that in substitute for your state police, why not increase the personnel of the Nigerian police force, to give it some kind of a number to be able to cover the mass to do the job, instead of having a state police as alternative?
Well, it's a good suggestion, right? But we cannot. The time for state police has come. We cannot substitute that for the state. At the end of the day, the truth is that increasing the number of police, yes, the number of police force we have currently now is below the global average,
standard, yeah.
The global standard. That's no doubt. But state police would fill in for that, because when there's state police, there's going to be a recruitment exercise. There's also going to be a provision for those funding. There's going to be provision for all those, made by the various states.
All right.
So it's going to handle that issue. While, whatever it's talking about should be as, let's say, a federal police force.
All right, we'll leave it there. And finally on the show, the naira depreciated in its value against the United States dollar to 1,234 at the official foreign exchange markets on Monday this week. According to data obtained from FMDQ Securities Exchange, the exchange rate means the naira fell by 65 naira or 5.26% from the 1,169 to a dollar recorded on last Friday. The local currency had strengthened to around 1,072 on Wednesday, as traders projected the naira could trade below 1,000 naira to a dollar for the first time. However, the latest drop appears to coincide with the remarks of the Apex Bank governor, Yemi Cardoso, who stated that the intent of the bank was not to defend the naira when asked about the sudden drop in external reserves. Of course, I still have my guests right here, Supriya Membri. Supriya Membri, very quickly now, despite the recent monetary policies aimed at reforming the financial system, the naira has once again depreciated. Now, what are your insights into the reasons behind this continued downturn?
Well, it's market dynamics. Some have said it's as a result of speculation and the rest of that. But whatever is happening is a symptom to a fundamental problem, the lack of productivity in our economy. We are going to always go back and forth, going up, coming down, especially with the managed float system that the CBN is saying that they are working on. In fact, the CBN governor is saying if he has his way, he's not even going to defend the naira, at the end of the day. But then, not defending naira would mean inflation. You're trying to fight inflation, because at the end of the day, inflation is not driven by, currently inflation is not even driven by excess liquidity. It's driven by FX, because we are an import-dependent economy, no matter how we like to deceive ourselves about it. So at the end of the day, the truth is that the fundamental issues, which is productivity. Productivity, yes, needs to be addressed. And addressed from a very unique perspective. So productivity will have, local production. But then also when foreign investors come in, government can incentivize those foreign investors to embark on backward integration. Backward integration will mean they service their product, because a lot of production happens in Nigeria but raw materials are imported or key components are imported. For instance, meter production in Nigeria. Most of the electronic components are imported from China. So how then do you solve this issue? We can produce those, components, electronic components down here, create jobs, save FX, that's capital flight outside, and also expand on that. So it's all encompassing. Get investors in, grow the economy, local producers. But when you get investors in, incentivize those investors to ensure that they embark on backward integration. In fact, make it as a policy that, okay, if you embark on so percentage of backward integration, you get a tax break for this and that. Over time, that policy consistently and properly managed and properly regulated will ensure that before you know it, a lot of things are being produced here, and then it also means we are going to export to our neighbors, exporting. Okay, now, for instance, you have gas, which is, gas, oil, and the rest of that, right?
High on demand.
Yes, high demand. We are exporting that. The Dangote refinery is coming in, meaning we are going to save money from, importing refined crude. But at the end of the day, what about production? Those other components, for instance, if you get electronic components of meters, you can export to other African countries that don't have.
All right, Chukwuebuka, very quickly now, with accusations directed at the new cryptocurrency exchange platforms like Bybit and BitGet for the Naira's recent devaluation, and considering the previous ban on Binance, now what measures do you propose to manage this ongoing issue?
All right, thank you. I will want to agree with the position of my friend, dear Sopriala. The issue of the Forex is majorly a reflection of the fundamental problem of productivity which we are grappling with as a nation. And until it is tackled, whatever we do, be it the prosecution of Binance or most of these cryptocurrency platforms, becomes merely a dress rehearsal. We have to tackle the issue of productivity. We have to incentivize the economy. We also have to communicate. We have to communicate with the populace, because a robust economy is simply a reflection of a robust communication system. And as such, I feel kudos to the Minister of Finance and also kudos to the CBN governor for their efforts towards, defending the Naira against the against foreign interventions and all that. But then again, we have to go a step ahead against merely defending the Naira and then tackle the root cause so that we, ensure we put to an end this volatility in the foreign exchange market.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Sophia, before we go, now, market dynamics always influence this. Now, as it is right now, it's obviously the market dynamics are beyond the CBN governor's powers. Now, what do you think he should do that is within his control to actually stem this?
I would say it's beyond...
In a minute.
I would say it's beyond his powers. He just doesn't want to do those things. I think it's returning to monetary policy, orthodox. What he said was orthodox monetary policy. So he's not going to, pumping a lot of liquidity. But the truth is, at the end of the day, we have to focus. The CBN has to liaise. So on the physical and also on the monetary side, there has to be a conjunction. We have to liaise with... The CBN has to liaise with the government on the policy side. We have to leverage on comparative advantage, agriculture.
Okay.
We have to leverage on services sector. Services sector is one area that we can properly, harness. Okay. We have a very large population, right? You can imagine, I was, some days ago, I was doing a little bit of research around, and I found out that the amount of money India makes by rendering services from within their country to other clientele outside,
so you're saying we can adopt that?
We can adopt that, the services sector and agriculture, that's this, because you keep on intervening, dancing. Okay, today I'm hearing dollar has, Naira has fought, as they would say, it's fighting back, it's on the rise again. Yeah. But tomorrow it goes down, and then it affects, prices of things. Businessmen will always want to hedge their bets, meaning that even though the dollar is going down or up and the rest of that, it wouldn't immediately reflect on prices, and the rest of that. So the CBN governor has to liaise with the policy side, and at the end of the day, look for a way to, comparative advantage.
Thank you very much, Sopriala Membri. I hope I pronounced that name correctly.
Yes,
appreciate you for your presence. Chukwuebuka, thank you very much for your presence on the show as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
All right. And that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Mark Otabo. And until next week, goodbye.